fight of the wrestlers continues, and a caution has come in from Union Sports Minister Anurag Thakur today, asking the wrestlers to show some patience. We are going to try and understand where the legal process is going and what are the facts behind all of this headline and drama concerning the wrestlers. You will recall that the wrestlers who have been protesting for the last several weeks demanding action against former WFI chief Brij Bhushan have accused him of sexual assault and misconduct. Yesterday, they threatened to drown their medals, hard-fought medals, in the Ganga. Intervention by Naresh Tiket, farm leader at the nth hour, has now stopped them from doing that, but a 5-day ultimatum has been given. In the midst of all of this, why has the situation come to this stage? Is there a resolution in sight? To understand some of these aspects, I'm speaking now with top lawyer Kapil Sibal, who is representing the wrestlers in the Supreme Court. Mr. Sibal, thank you so much for speaking with us on Beyond the Headline. I want to understand, and let me begin with what Anurag Thakur said, the Union Sports Minister. He's saying that the Supreme Court has directed the Delhi police to do its job. They're doing it. Please show some patience. I want to understand why the wrestlers feel that they are not being heard when there is an ongoing investigation.
What is the ongoing investigation doing? There's a 164 statement before the magistrate. It's a POCSO case. If it's an ordinary person, that on the 164 statement, that person would be in the dock. He would have been in jail by now. So I think politics is overtaking everything. I think the investigating agencies have been, I cannot say because I have no knowledge of it, but from their actions, it's quite clear that they are not going to arrest this man. Now, it's not for me to say, but the fact of the matter is that this is a serious allegation. There's a 164 statement before the magistrate. This is not something that's happened for the first time. This allegation has not been made for the first time. The inquiry has gone on earlier. These statements have been made earlier. Matters have been with the minister for some time. The minister who's made a statement recently that the investigation is going on. And of course, the minister must have a lot of patience, but those who have been subjected to this kind of sexual harassment are to show the same kind of patience as the minister is showing, because the minister has not gone through this. It's unfortunate that a minister of the union should even make such a statement.
Mr. Sibal, you mentioned that the situation is now being treated politically, and I assume you're alluding to the fact that Mr. Brij Bhushan is a BJP leader and an MP. Now, the counter-allegation is that the situation is being politicized by the opposition. You had, for example, the West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee and, of course, several other opposition leaders come out in support of the wrestlers. Has this now become a political akhada?
Well, I really don't care about that. I mean, I really don't care as to who is supporting whom. That's not the question at all. Let's look at the facts. The facts are that this has been happening not just to one person, but many. This has been happening for years. And it takes a lot of courage for women to come and publicly speak out against such sexual harassment, because it sort of brings them in the public view. Their name gets tarnished in the process. They don't want to be the subject matter of public debate. So a lot of courage is required by young women to make these allegations, and especially iconic women who have actually brought laurels to the country. So forget about who supported whom. Let us see the facts. The facts are that these allegations have been made not for the first time. This has been happening. Information is with the government. Information has been given to the government some time ago. They took no action. In January, they were told that, okay, now, there was also an inquiry that was set up. These statements were made in the inquiry as well. There's a lot of dispute on the nature of the inquiry report and what happened. Forget about that. Now, when this matter is in public view, when these people went on dharna and on protest saying that take some action, no action is being taken. What do you mean by an investigation is going on? What kind of investigation is this? I'm told that the investigators want them to give proof and evidence. Is there any evidence that is given except the statement of the victim in matters of this nature? And if it were, do you think an ordinary man could be, who has been accused of this, would be going around doing rallies in the rest of the country or in Uttar Pradesh to say and to make all kinds of statements, and ministers would be making such statements? It's because of the fact that he is not an ordinary person that all this is happening. Actually, what is happening is that the whole machinery of the state is supporting this man.
There is no doubt, Mr. Sibal, that for women who have been victims of sexual assault or sexual misconduct, coming out and speaking in public is a feat of great courage. There's no question about that. But you are right. We must speak on the facts and the process of law. Now, the wrestlers went to the Supreme Court and demanded action. The Supreme Court directed the Delhi police to file an FIR and investigate. There are sources, and then there is, a statement, counter-statement, withdrawal of statement coming from the Delhi police. But yes, Brij Bhushan Singh today says, show me evidence and then hang me. Now, you talked about evidence. As per law, if there is an accusation of rape, sexual assault, etc., is there not a requirement of evidence to prove that the accusations are correct as a matter of law? Let's forget who the accuser and the accused are in this case.
Let's talk about that. Supposing a woman is sexually assaulted, that's not in public view. Okay? It doesn't happen in public view, does it? Most sexual assaults don't happen in public view. So what evidence can a person give except for the fact that this has happened to me? And it is in these circumstances that happened. It is on this date that happened. It is at this time that this happened. This is exactly what he did. All this is set out in the statements. What else is evidence? So now the victim must show that this happened in front of somebody else. Is that the evidence that they want? And the law of the Supreme Court is quite clear that the statement of the victim, especially when a 164 statement has been given before a magistrate, is enough to prosecute the accused. Is enough. That's consistently laid down by the Supreme Court. Unless it is found ex facie that such an allegation cannot possibly have a grain of truth in it.
How would you prove that in a court of law? And yes, in the case of where the victim is a minor,
the statement is enough.
Clearly, the rules are very strict. Now, just to understand, because this story has become about narrative and counter-narrative. Is he being fixed? Is he being attacked? Of course, there will not be any visual evidence or maybe a witness to sexual assault. But generally, what is the legal trend? Is there a requirement to prove in a way beyond doubt that this has taken place?
The proof is in the statement of the victim. That's what the Supreme Court says. Nothing more is required, especially in the context of POCSO. Okay, so let's be clear on that. Nothing more is required. And number two, why should the wrestlers have an animus against this man? Why would they have an animus against this man? They have no personal grouse against him, other than the fact that they allege that he was doing what he was doing. So why would anybody want to fix him? And these are all the women wrestlers, right? What intention could they have of fixing him? For what purpose? Please appreciate that. I mean, there's no family rivalry. There is no reason to make such an allegation for the purposes of taking revenge, right? There's no such thing, and each of them have made the same statement. I mean, the nature of assault is somewhat different, but each of them, and there are date and time at particular event where it was outside the country. All that is set out in the statements, and the investigators know about it. So let's not fool ourselves. These are all red herrings. They make no sense at all. And as I said, if it were an ordinary person, I'd not be sitting here having a discussion with you.
Yeah. What are the next steps then legally? Mr. Sibal, do you go back to the Supreme Court and say that there has been no arrest despite a POCSO case, that nothing is being done, or do you legally simply have to wait for the Delhi police to come up with its explanation in court, since now it is in the aegis of the court?
See, it's not for me to say what's going to happen, what's not going to happen. I am before you having a discussion with you about my concern and my deep regret that the agencies of the law themselves do not wish to follow the law. What happens is this is one of those cases, but this is not the first of its kind. I've seen that happen more often than in the past. So it's a matter of great concern that the law is being not applied merely because somebody is of some importance.
No, but then your only reprieve to that, one assumes, will be back
what happens
in the court. So would you be going back to court on this?
No, it's not for me to say. It's not for me to say whether we'll be going back to court or not. Nobody has gotten in touch with me. I am not involved in this personally. I have not been there like many people. I'm not involved in the politics of all this. As I am concerned as a citizen of this country, and I am appalled at what's happening. That's all. I'm sure ultimately they will be brought to book. Ultimately, the truth will prevail.
Let me just get a comment from you on what happened yesterday, Mr. Sibal. Because when the wrestlers said that they're going to Haridwar and they will put their medals in the river Ganga, the entire protest has taken a very different turn. And then, Mr. Tikait came in, intervened, etc. Those who have been criticizing the wrestlers now started accusing them of being very dramatic, of, trying to grab attention instead of entrusting the rule of law. What would you advise the wrestlers to do right now?
One, I do not wish to comment on what happened. I have no idea as to what happened. I'm sitting in Delhi. I was not in Haridwar. Two, I do not wish to give advice of this nature publicly. Number three, I am really not concerned with what has been happening after the complaints have been filed and 164 statements have been taken. I'm only concerned with the way in which this is being dealt with and the way in which the investigating authorities are not taking action. I'm not concerned with anything else, nor do I wish to make any comments on anything else. Who is being dramatic, who is not being dramatic, why is somebody being dramatic, acquisitions made here and there. I'm really not concerned with it. I'm just concerned with the law and the way in which the law is moving forward in the context of the fact that women have made a complaint against a powerful person and the state seems to be backing him. And that's unfortunate.
So as things stand today, there is a 5-day ultimatum which has been given. What happens in 5 days? Because you can't technically put a deadline to the Delhi police investigation. Right.
See, I don't want to make any comment on any of this. It's none of my concern. It's none of my concern. I am concerned with the fact that in the circumstances in which this happened and the fact that the government is aware of what happened, not aware today, but for several months, the fact that for several months no action was taken, the fact that despite the Supreme Court saying, okay, now lodge, register an FIR, despite that, investigation has not moved forward except for, in fact, the statement of the minister was not even recorded till such time as somebody said that why is the minister not being examined? Why a statement is not being recorded? So they have been very lackadaisical in moving forward, and they want to buy time, hoping that either the wrestlers get exhausted, the women wrestlers get exhausted, or ultimately, like they tried in the farmers' agitation, that this will lose its steam, and the minister will say, look, and of course the investigating authorities will file some kind of a wishy-washy final report. So it's murky. All this is very murky, unfortunately.
All right. One thing is very clear. There needs to be some finality and some clarity. Very serious allegations have been made. There's no doubt about it. Justice needs to be seen to be done as well. Thank you so much, Mr. Sibal, for speaking with us on the show.
Thank you.